I'll declare the agenda briefing forum of the 3rd of December 2024 held in Council Chambers at Level 2, 388 Hayes Street, open at 5:34 p.m. Welcome everyone. On behalf of the City of Subiaco, I acknowledge the Whadjuk Noongar people as the traditional custodians of this land, and I recognise their ongoing connection to our land and waterways here in Subiaco. I'll take attendances now, and I think we'll be 2 councillors down this evening, with Councillor De Vries on leave and Councillor White an apology. We've got 5 councillors and a mayor present in person, and Councillor Powell attending electronically. Welcome to you all. I think we've got the entire 5 members of the executive leadership team here in person to assist us, which is great to see, and we'll take attendances from any other staff members as and when needed this evening. So welcome to you all. Okay, are there any disclosures of interest this evening? Oh, we'll deal with that next week. Yep, applications for leave will be dealt with next week, just to clarify. Okay, disclosures. No disclosures of interest. No approved deputations. Announcements I can probably save until the annual electors meeting or the final OCM of the year, which is next Tuesday. I think we'll move on to the officer reports. There's only 3 officer reports for discussion this evening. There'll be a later agenda item, financial statements and reports, added to next week's agenda, and there'll be a confidential item. But for tonight's purposes, we've got 3 reports which we'll be taking questions and clarifications on. So let's get on to them now. First up is C1, the tender for the Subi Streets project. Any questions on agenda item C1, councillors? Okay, like all 3 agenda items, these have been the subject of workshops and plenty of discussions, so it's probably no surprise. We'll move on to C2, the tender for non-chemical weed control. Okay. Oh, I'm not that desperate, Councillor Burns.
Just keep looking at me.
Appreciate the offer, though. The final policy we'll take questions on this evening, the policy reviews agenda item C3. Any questions on C3? Okay, people are already walking out. That must be a good or a bad sign, I'm not sure. But C4, as I said, oh, there is one. Okay, you've got to be quick tonight, councillors. Councillor Johnston.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Just on the, I mean, obviously I understand that if we've got policies that have been superseded by legislation, of course it doesn't make sense to, you know, they're redundant, not necessary. Do we have a policy on complaints handling process?
Director of Corporate Services.
Thank you, Mayor. At the moment, and I assume you mean the complaints handling process, because there's a couple of different types of complaints. So there can be a complaint from a resident or a visitor about anything that the council does, or there can be one which is usually what is meant by the complaints policy in relation to elected members and how complaints relating to elected members are dealt with. Currently, the council doesn't have a policy on that. Councils may have a policy, but they're not required to have a policy. There was legislation which was brought in a few years ago around complaints management, and it does require councils to have a form and a complaints officer, and we put those in place at the time. So there is new legislation also coming. The bill just passed. The specific sections haven't come into effect yet, though, which will also provide clarification around the way that complaints are to be handled, which may include through, the new system of inspectors and monitors as well. If that helps.
Thank you.
Any other questions on C3? Okay, I think that brings the agenda to a close.
Question?
No, that's a joke, isn't it?
No. I do have a quick question, mate.
Okay, Councillor Burns.
Is it necessary
If you want to have a talk about the leasing matter, which is confidential.
About it. I think it's just it doesn't look like it's a nuclear secret. You know what I mean? So
Look, it's not, but what we usually do with confidential items at a briefing is close the briefing, and then we can workshop it after the fact. But
I agree usually in this particular instance. So, I mean,
look, I don't think you've got many questions lined up in any case. But look, I think we'll move on. This agenda briefing was on track to be one of the quickest ever, and we could still get there. I'm going to declare the agenda briefing forum closed at 5:39 p.m. Thank you, councillors, for rocking up, and thank you, staff, for doing the same. And we'll say more next week. Thanks, everyone.